I think we're lost. I edged the car along, looking for Rosebud Lane. But all I saw were rows and rows of the same cookie-cutter suburban house, crammed in next to each other, going on forever. Sighing, I pulled over at the curb. "Can you check the GPS?" "Sure." As he pulled out his phone, I stared out the windshield. Even though it was a sunny, beautiful day, the neighborhood was a ghost town. Nobody walking their dog on the sidewalk. No kids playing in the street. I glanced around at the houses, and though it was hard to tell from the reflections on the windows, it looked like the curtains were drawn. Dave sighed next to me. "I don't think is right." "What do you mean?" He handed me the phone. The app showed our location, in the middle of the woods. I zoomed out a bit, but no suburbs showed up. Whoa, that's weird. I pulled out my phone, but the same thing happened. Little blue dot in the middle of the woods. The closest road was the 2-lane highway we'd pulled off of. Guess this is a really new development. Google Maps was almost always accurate, but if the houses had just been built, maybe the software hadn't caught up yet. They certainly looked very new. Overlapping gables, big windows with no shutters, all neutral colors. The grass perfect, without muddy tracks from dogs or kids. The white siding so crisp and pristine, it almost glowed. The windows shiny as a mirror. I hated that sterile, almost uncanny look of new houses. Like they'd just been copied and pasted out of a video game and plopped down in the earth. No personal touches, no wear and tear, no character. Just sterile and empty and perfect. "Maybe you should call Megan," I said. Dave glanced at the clock. "I don't want to interrupt the shower." "Yeah, but we're lost, and the GPS isn't working." He sighed. "If we don't find it in 10 minutes, I'll call her." That was Dave for you. Always thinking of others. Which was nice, of course, until it got to these kinds of things. He'd rather waste our time, driving around aimlessly, than give Megan a quick call for fear of being rude. It was always like that with him. But whatever. They say pick your fights, and this wasn't important enough to go to battle over. I continued crawling down the street, past more and more identical houses. But just as I was thinking, maybe I should force him to call Megan, that this was a fight worth choosing, I saw it, a turn up ahead. I sped towards the intersection, hoping the little green sign said Rosebud Lane. But as we got closer, my stomach dropped. What the hell? It was blank. It was just a green rectangle of metal, no text on it whatsoever. "Wow, someone fucked up," Dave laughed. "They had one job. Do you think I should turn? Wait, let me pull up the GPS." The car idled on the corner as I waited for Dave to pull out his phone. Nah, still in the woods. I guess turn on it, yeah. I flicked on my blinker and turned onto the unnamed street. More cookie-cutter houses with curtained windows, all painted a perfectly neutral beige with white trim. Even the front lawns looked identical. 3 shrubs along the porch and a big hydrangea on the garage end. There were no cars in any driveways either, just like the previous street. I wonder if they're so new, some of them haven't even been moved into, just standing empty. For some reason, the thought sent a chill down my spine. How weird would it be to live in this neighborhood, surrounded by empty houses? "I'd hate to live here," I muttered. "It'd be nice to have something brand new, though, not having everything break all the time." But every single house looks exactly the same. I shook my head. I bet they have a super strict HOA. Probably. We continued up the road. It seemed like the houses stretched into infinity, disappearing into the light fog. What was it again? Number 52? Yep. I slowed the car, looking for mailboxes, so I could check the house numbers. But the houses didn't have mailboxes. I guess they must have one of those communal ones, I thought, like apartments and townhouses have. But the houses didn't have numbers on the front doors or the porches either. So weird. We continued driving, but I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling. Identical houses, extending to infinity. Like someone had just copy-pasted them on a computer screen. I let out a sigh and stared out at the road, looking for signs of life, individuality, anything. And then finally, through the gloom and mist, I saw a smudge of color. A stop sign. "Oh good, we'll see what street we're on," I said. But as we approached, my stomach twisted. My heart pounded in my chest. There wasn't an intersection, or even a crosswalk. There was no actual reason for cars to stop. Yet the stop sign was still there, and there was another one, on the other side of the road, telling cars in the oncoming direction to stop too. There's No reason for a stop sign to be here. Maybe it's like an accessibility thing, like the person who owns that house is blind, so everyone needs to stop here so they don't hit them? Does that kind of thing even exist? I mean, great if it does, but I've never seen that. He shrugged. I think we should turn around. Let's just continue a little bit, Dave replied. In like 5 minutes, if we don't find it, we'll turn around. I don't know why I listened to him. I guess it's because, logically, I knew there wasn't much risk to driving around some weird neighborhood. It wasn't like we were wandering around in the middle of the woods, where we could get lost or die of dehydration or get eaten by a bear. It was 1 p.m. in the afternoon, and we were driving down a suburban road. But the instinctual part of myself, the part that evolved over hundreds of thousands of years, that prevented humans from going extinct long ago, was screaming. There is something wrong here. Get out! Get out! I drove forward, glancing in the rearview mirror. The stop sign lingered there, its bright red almost unnatural against the gray gloom of the sky. Over the next few minutes, we didn't get any closer to finding Megan's house. There were no street signs, no mailboxes, no indication of where we were going. Even the car's compass seemed messed up as it switched from north to west a few times, even though we appeared to be going in a straight line. I finally pulled over to the side of the road and pulled out my phone. I'm just going to call Megan, Dave said finally, breaking the silence. Thank you, I snapped back, unable to keep the annoyance out of my voice. After a moment, Dave shook his head. Not picking up. All right, let's just go home. But we told her we'd be there. I sighed and stared at him. Okay, so what do you want me to do? We're lost. GPS isn't working, and she isn't picking up. He paused, glancing around. Maybe we should ask somebody. Who? There's no one here. Maybe knock on a door? My eyes widened. That's weird. Look, let's just knock on a door and ask. If they don't answer, we'll give up and go home. I puffed out a breath. Fine. I pulled over to the curb. We got out and started up the driveway. It was no longer bright and sunny. The sky was a uniform, overcast gray, and the place was so quiet. No voices, no cars passing by, no dogs barking, just our footsteps on the pavement. We walked up to the front door. When I didn't see a doorbell, I raised a fist to knock. Thump, thump, thump. No footsteps or barking from inside. I don't think anyone's home, I told Dave. Just wait for a second. The address is definitely 52 Rosebud Lane, right? I'm like 99% positive, but I'll check. Dave pulled out his phone and scrolled. Yep. A minute went by. I knocked one more time. Then I leaned over and peered through one of the windows next to the door. Wait, what? The layout of the house was really weird. The staircase was plopped in the middle of the foyer, with empty space on either side. Beyond it, in the kitchen, there was a floor-to-ceiling tower of cabinets. Not connected to a counter or anything, just there. There was a painting on the wall of a woman standing on a rainy city street, but her eyes were drawn in upside down. What the hell? It felt like I was looking at an AI-generated image, something made by a machine, trying to replicate what a house was supposed to look like inside. Without any understanding of the function of stairs or cabinets or human behavior at all. Look, I said, motioning Dave over, but he didn't share my sense of unease. Instead, he laughed. Wow, whoever designed these houses was an idiot, he whispered. Can we go now? Yeah, okay. We headed back towards the car. As I walked around to the driver's side, though, I felt the hairs on the back of my neck prickle. The familiar feeling of being watched. I whipped around, but all I saw was the row of beige houses staring down at me with their dark, shiny windows. We should be there by now. You must have just passed it up, Dave replied. No, we didn't. It was almost 2 p.m. now. My stomach grumbled. My shoulders hurt. I just wanted to be back home, curled up under a blanket, watching YouTube, drinking tea. We only made one turn, but somehow, retracing our steps, we hadn't intersected it yet. We hadn't even passed the weird stop sign. Nothing looked familiar, although of course everything looked familiar, because all the houses were the same house. It must just be up a little further. I just want to be home, I whined. But a few minutes later, we passed something that we definitely didn't see on the way in. A house that was different. It was on the left side of the road. Everything about it was identical to the other houses, except for the porch railing. It was installed upside down, bolted into the underside of the roof, the banister at eye level. "What the hell?" I asked, slowing down the car. We both stared at the house. No builder or designer would make that kind of mistake. Would they? A few houses down, there was another house that was different, this time on the right. Two of the windows had been connected into one long 15-foot-tall window that extended from the ground to the roof. "What the fuck?" Dave whispered. "This isn't right," I replied, my heart pounding in my chest. And then I saw it. Just a few houses ahead of us was a mailbox, the only mailbox I'd seen on the street. And in small gold lettering were the words, 52 Rosebud Lane. Attached to the mailbox was a single pink balloon, fluttering in the wind. No, there's no way. It's not. It doesn't make sense. There were no cars parked on the road, no voices or music coming from inside, no indication that there was a party going on except for that one balloon. "I'm calling Megan." The phone trilled in his ear, and then she picked up. "Dave, where are you guys? We're a little lost. We're in this development and..." He paused. "Do you have a pink balloon on the mailbox?" "No," she said, confused. "It's the blue house on the hill. At the end of the cul-de-sac. Did you turn on Mountain Ave? It's a little hard to get here." She continued on, but I wasn't listening. I was staring at the house, specifically at the upstairs window, where a figure stood in the darkness, watching us. I started the car and made a U-turn, tires screeching against the pavement. Dave turned to me, eyes wide. "Someone's watching us. From that house." I stomped on the accelerator, the car rocketing down the suburban road. "Slow down," Dave shouted. I glanced down. I was going 40. We have to get out of here." "You're gonna crash, damn it!" "Slow down." But I did have to slow down, because up ahead, materializing out of the fog, was a stop sign. This time, a crosswalk, and a cluster of school children crossing the road. I stomped on the brakes. The car screeched to a halt. Dave and I jerked forward, the seatbelts locking us into place. My heart pounded in my chest. Then I looked up, and all the muscles in my body froze. It wasn't a group of school children. It was an amalgamation of arms and legs, backpacks and sneakers, tousled hair and ponytails, put together like some nightmarish jigsaw puzzle. No faces, no eyes, just things that gave the illusion of a normal group of children crossing the street. I stared at the monstrosity 20 feet in front of us, partially veiled by fog. And then I switched the car into reverse. "What the fuck? Call 911. I screamed at Dave. "Now!" We careened past the upside-down railing, the 15-foot window, the pink balloon. As we sped by, the houses got stranger and stranger. Chimneys leading up to the sky, floating gables, hardwood floors that spilled out into the grass. "They say they can't trace our location," Dave shouted. "Then, I don't know, tell them to go on the highway, Route 140, turn at Glenmont Road, and then make a right at the subdivision." He relayed that to them, but my heart was pounding. If we hadn't been able to retrace our steps, if they couldn't track our location, how would they find us? I slowed down slightly, glancing around the street, looking for something, anything, that I recognized, but all I saw were the windows, the curtains wide open in every single one, and people staring down at us. Although people was a stretch, everything about them was wrong. Their faces had all the wrong proportions, stretched and misshapen. Their eyes were set and upside down. They had far too many hands, people that looked like they had been crafted by some horrible AI, just like the houses they lived in. It's now almost 10 p.m. The sky should be dark, but it isn't. It's the same overcast gray color. We've made so many U-turns, I've lost count, back and forth, but it's never the same. The houses, the people, are always different. Like the world is generating just for us each time we drive down it, popping in and out of existence. The police called us. They tried locating us again and again, but every time they failed. They insisted there were only acres and acres of forest where we described our location. I've used my phone to try to get other help. My parents tried to find us too. Nothing has worked. I only have 10% battery left. So I'm posting this online in the hopes that maybe someone, somewhere, knows how to escape this place. Maybe we'll finally get out. I'm so hungry. I'm so tired. All I want to do is stop the car and lie back in my seat, drift off to sleep. But I'm afraid if I do that, they'll get us. The not people in the houses. They're learning. With each hour, they look more human, more like us, and they're getting bolder. I see children standing on the front lawn, still as statues, women standing on the sidewalk, with faces that almost pass for human, men crossing the street in front of us. Whenever we drive by, they all start moving in our direction, like we're magnetic, a homing beacon. Dave is driving now, so I can post this. Maybe I'll take a short nap. For a brief moment, I won't be trapped anymore. I'll dream of being home, curled up with a cup of tea, watching TV with Dave. I'll escape this place, if only for an hour. I'm signing off now. Hopefully someone out there, somewhere, knows how we can escape. And if not, I'll have my dreams to comfort me for a little while.